In a world where most people watch movies and then forget about them, these brave heroes join forces to watch them again and then talk about them. Join them in their epic journey as they go back in time, a decade and beyond, to revisit and break down films from a vast array of genres. Do these movies hold up over time? Are they classics? Find out on Retro Movie Roundtable. Starring your hosts, Bryan, Frye, Chad Robinson, Dustin Melbardis, Lizzie Haynes, and Russell Guest. Coming now to headphones in your ears.
Welcome, all you lords, ladies, and knights of the Retro Movie Roundtable, where we watch movies and then talk about them. I am your host, Dustin Melbardis, and joining me today is my good friend and co-host, Bryan Frye. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you?
We're coming off an incredible historic season for Indiana winning the Natty.
Yeah.
They did it.
They did it.
In case you're not connected to any sports media, social media, or really all together in a whole.
Paying attention at all. Guess what? SEC isn't the only conference paying their players anymore. We can all do it.
We can all do it. Yeah. And my father-in-law grew up in Bloomington, went to Indiana, and he's very happy. But there was a lot of years where I had to suffer the complaining about his football program and basketball program. So I'm glad he's happy.
Because basketball wasn't achieving those same heights that it had before. But now, hey, 15-0, historic run. Way to go, Kurt Signetti. You can smile now. Well, who's that talking? We've got ourselves a guest coming to you from the Least Important Things podcast. It's your special guest, Luke Ferris. Welcome back.
Oh, thrilled to be back, friends. Been a while, but I'm glad to be talking about this movie, not just because my name is Luke, but also because it's a great movie and a fun one to talk about. So thrilled to be here.
Luke, the name of your podcast, tell us a little bit about The Least Important Thing.
Yeah, The Least Important Things podcast is a podcast about movies, friendship, and finding meaning in the most important of the least important things. We do rewatch episodes like we're doing now, where we rewatch a movie and talk about it. There's essays that kind of weave in movies, pop culture, and life. It's really just bringing people together like we're doing today, celebrating friendship, movies, and the things that we love. We cover anything and everything. It's really any episode you're going to listen to is going to be different, and we like to keep our audience on our toes that way.
We just kind of want to talk about the things that we like, and that's great. That sounds like a great avenue for any of our listeners too. But Luke, here's a question for you. What is one of the least important things that you really love?
There's so many movies. Obviously, we're going to be talking about a great movie today. Movies in general are probably the top. But besides movies, it's been a long winter here in the Midwest, and I've really fallen in love with shoveling. This ties into an episode I actually just released recently about the magical thinking of snow days and how it relates to the 2000 Nickelodeon-produced movie Snow Day, which is a millennial childhood classic. Again, this is a little taste of what you can get on the podcast, where we're weaving something as simple as shoveling to a 2000s millennial Nickelodeon-produced movie.
Well, shoveling will come up quite a bit in what we are covering tonight.
Yes, yeah. Not shoveling snow, though, unfortunately.
A menial task that then gets us reminiscing about something nostalgic. I think that's great. For me, when it comes to Snow Days, I don't think anybody portrayed it better than Bill Watterson with Calvin and Hobbes.
Oh, the best.
Calvin's wonder and his sheer joy as to schools are going to close. And then he's, an incredible snowman artist on top of that. Like, these are special things. It's crazy to think that I think Bill Watterson's last comic strip was right around when I was born, and he was still a big part of my life.
Oh, same. That's a great call out. I probably should have weaved that in. I didn't even think about it. But that's the fun part about the show. We try to bring in anything and everything, and everyone has a different connection to something as menial as shoveling snow.
You'll bring me in on the next Snow Day episode. Bryan, What is one of the least important things that you really love?
This actually came up recently, and it's the only reason I have a good answer for this right now. I love milk crates.
Yeah.
The container that you get from a dairy store filled with gallons of milk. I love those. I have a ton of them in my attic. I use them for vinyl. I use them for comic books. I truly, my wife's like, I get it, I guess. Like, I need a stool, milk crate. Yeah, I mean, I keep one in my trunk just to ferry stuff in and out. It's great if you have a toddler. It's yeah. So no big deal or anything, but I love milk crates.
Yeah, you could put a couple on the back of the bike. You got saddlebags.
There you go.
I'm telling you, they're versatile.
Versatile. I feel like today's young poor college students just throw the mattress on the floor, but it used to be the perfect bed substitute. Just throw the mattress on the milk crates.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I came up with one. Mine isn't as tangible. My least important thing that I really love is my own restraint that I show when someone uses a word incorrectly. Being able to stop myself from like hitting an actually, or actually, I like being able to be like, take a deep breath. They're fine. Nothing's going to change that they use the word wrong. No big deal. I was having a conversation this morning about a staff member asked me, do we have any envelopes? And then she said, oh, I mean envelopes. So, what? Like, it's okay. You can say it however you want. She's like, yeah, but I said it wrong. I'm like, no, you didn't. It's envelope. Or you said it correctly the first time. Way to go. And that's when it brought up that very particular line from linguistics, which is language is descriptive, not prescriptive. Say things how you like. Least important things podcast. That's one of my least important things.
I like it.
Choosing when not to correct somebody.
That's good. Restraint.
I had another one. It was in the same conversation an hour later. Somebody was talking about having to replace their tires. And they said they ran into something that had fallen into the road. And then they said, and all of a sudden I had 2 less tires. And I go, in my head, I go, you had 2 fewer tires. But I let it go. I'm not going to get you. And what's it going to help?
I have to admit, that's a very weird way to say that.
2 less tires as if they were just immediately.
Yeah. I mean, because technically you don't. You still have the same number of tires, just 2 of them are.
Tune in for Tire Talk.
I blew 2 tires. I wrecked 2 tires. I mean, that.
Yeah, buckle up. It's time for Tire Talk. What is the last movie that you saw, Luke?
The last movie I saw, I'm going to throw out Hamnet. We're going to be talking about Oscar nominations and Oscars. I saw Hamnet in theaters, which was one of the most unique experiences I've ever had in a theater. Instead of people staying in their seats during the credits to wait for a sneak peek or a cameo of a Marvel character, we were all just sitting there crying, sitting in our emotions of the movie. It was fascinating. And I don't know if it works for everybody, but there was something about that movie that was just a hack for human catharsis. It was wonderful. It was a really enjoyable experience in the theaters. I would say if you if you have children that are young, maybe don't go see it.
Okay, but
or maybe like see it.
Recommendation, yeah.
Or maybe see it. If you need a good cry, see it.
Sitting in the room where outward emotion is expressly pulled from the art. These are 100 strangers in this room with you, and you all can feel the same way. There's a palpable feeling that you get to sit in. Like, is recommending the movie, recommending the feeling. Comes both with it, with Hamlet.
Yeah.
This is expressly why I don't watch The Notebook. I in the same way that Dustin very rarely reaches for a incredibly long movie, I don't watch movies for emotional calisthenics. So if I have forewarning, it is typically something I will avoid. However, my wife does get really excited when I accidentally step on a landmine. Case in point, I watched P.S. I Love You.
Oh, that's a landmine.
Not because I knew what it was, because I was flipping through channels and it starts at that bar wake scene. And I'm like, hey, they're playing Fairy Tale in New York. I'm going to watch this movie. Hour and a half later, she gets home and I'm like, oh my God. And she goes, you had feelings. So
you did
it. Gotcha.
Well, is P.S. I Love You the last movie that you watched, or have you watched nothing more?
No, God, no. That was ages. That was probably 15 years ago.
I haven't had an emotion since.
Sit here with my black coffee. Hard. No, I think the last new movie I saw was I downloaded the 2-part new, actually French Three Musketeers. by I think it's Nathan Borbalon. Is I probably butchered his name, but anyway, he the only recognizable person I think that anybody will have from the movie is Eva Green. But otherwise, it's a more traditional take on the Damas book, and I'm a sucker for period sword fight movies. So I snagged a 3-pack. It has part 1 and part 2 of the Three Musketeers, along with the new Count of Monte Cristo.
Oh,
so all of that, and thumbs up.
Good swashbuckling in it, or is it more?
Oh, yeah. Oh, fantastic. In fact, if you've never watched it, I know it's not technically a movie, but they did a British Broadcasting Three Musketeers show.
Oh, wow.
That was also really fun if you can get past the fact that everybody in it is English. And you're just sitting there like, I understand they don't think much of us over in Europe, but I can tell the difference between a British and a French accent. So I don't know, maybe make the movie or show all with all French people, actual French actors and actresses, because, you know, they were able to wrangle, I think, one, and that was Gerard Depardieu in Man in the Iron Mask. And that's the only French actor they've managed to get for a Three Musketeers.
What about Chris O'Donnell? He's not French, right?
Him and Kiefer and Charlie Sheen and Oliver Platt.
Can we get Oliver Platt as Porthos?
Yeah. Which don't get me wrong, I revere that movie.
I love that movie.
I love that movie. Curry as the Cardinal is one of the most iconic Curry, you know. So, no, I've got no hate, but I did notice a trend over the years on how distinctly un-French this very distinctly French book was being treated.
Yes.
And so when I saw this one pop up, I go, all right, let's give it a roll. I don't care if I have to read it. Let's go.
Well, it sounds like a recommendation. That's good. I was looking to see, I'm not going to reveal what one of my 2 dealer's choices for the year is. It had been a bit since I have come back to Kung Fu. I like presenting Kung Fu movies on our dealer's choices. So I rewatched Killzone Chapeau Blanc, which is good. It's Donnie Yen and it's Sammo Hung. But there's one issue with it, is that there's one scene that is very, very stupid. And what I realized is, just, I guess, to keep up a little bit of clout, to keep up a little bit of street cred, if there's one really, really stupid thing in it, I'm not going to present it. And it's stupid. So I'm not going with it. I was really leaning toward Kiss of the Dragon. Speaking of French, right? That happens in France. Have you seen it, Luke? You're not.
I don't think I have.
That is a Jet Li film. And the action's incredible. Interesting police story. And that one's good. But I've really been trying to go through these 80s and 90s golden harvest Hong Kong studio Kung Fu movies. There's a lot of good ones out there. And spoiler alert, there's also a lot of ones that are really good with just one really stupid thing. And it takes me out. Like it just takes me out of it.
It's not, you know, per the question, it's not something that I've watched like massively recently, but I do find myself gravitating toward late 70s, early 80s crime movies right now. Mm-hmm. Like I watched In the Heat of the Night recently. I watched Body Heat recently. Just, you know, these crime movies that probably aren't making a whole lot of people's lists of, you know, whatever, but they're also recognizable enough to where they're like, oh yeah, I've heard of that at least. And I've been really knocking on a lot of those doors recently.
Cool. Yeah, I like the idea that anytime you dive into something that it might not have big car chase, it might not have dramatic courtroom scene, but there's still fire or there's still drama, like go for it. That's what these courtroom dramas have been pulling me in recently too. Well, let's talk about something crime related today. Bryan, what are we covering tonight?
We are doing the movie Cool Hand Luke.
From 1967, starring Paul Newman, George Kennedy, J.D. Cannon, Robert Drivas, Lou Antonio, Strother Martin, and Joe Van Fleet. A budget of $3.2 million, it grossed $16.2 million domestically. According to numbers.com, it placed 17th in the box office that year, which was just behind Wait Until Dark and just ahead of In Cold Blood. The number one movie that year was The Graduate. IMDb rating of 8.0, and guess what? Critics from Rotten Tomatoes give this a 100% fresh. 100. That's three numbers. And then
it's wild to see one that sneaks past the trolls.
I didn't even realize. I was like, I saw it on my screen, and Apple shows the tomato meter, and I was like, 100. Whoa,
100.
Yeah. There. I think I've looked it up. I want to say there are 67 movies or something like that have at one point in time held that mantle. Most of them have been hit by a troll by now.
Yeah, a troll.
Like just one guy who's like, they're garbage, and you're just like, man, whatever.
We'll have that man dig his own ditch and sleep in it, whoever that guy is. And our audience...
Last boss is dirt in your hole.
Last boss is dirt. You got to put it back in the hole.
Come out of the hole, boss. This is very highly regarded. It was nominated for 4 Academy Awards. George Kennedy won Best Supporting Actor at the Academy Awards. A couple of Golden Globes nominations as well. Winners there as well. AFI distinctions, it did make its way on a couple lists. Of course, why wouldn't it? AFI has 1,000 lists, and they all have 1,000 movies on it. But this one, number 30 on the heroes and villains list, our number 30 hero is Lucas Jackson. On our 100 cheers from 19 years ago, it ranked number 71. We're cheering for this movie. And then it was nominated for the 100 thrills. Thrills, interesting that it would find there. I understand the idea of escaping sometimes falls into thrills. But this movie kind of takes you away from that thrilling aspect, at least it does for me, with all the rest of the stuff that it serves you up. So I'll start with our guest, Luke. Had you seen this before? What was your expectation coming in tonight?
I had never seen this before, but if you grow up as a Luke, to all my Lukes out there, there's 2 major movie references that you hear all the time growing up. It's Luke, I Am Your Father from Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Cool Hand Luke. Just reference Cool Hand Luke. Not even not even really the movie. Just people will call you
just the title.
Cool Hand Luke. So that was my experience, and one of the reasons I was thrilled to talk about this movie because I had never seen it before, and it's been on my list, and so I was excited. I'm a huge Paul Newman fan, and I've been trying to go through his catalog over the last couple of years, and this is one that's been on my list. So I was thrilled to dive into it.
As you got in tonight, or I guess when you watched it for tonight, did you enjoy it on the first watch? And did you feel as if like, man, I'm going to have a ton to talk about?
Yeah, this is one of those movies that I think you can just enjoy it. You could have it on in the background. You could watch it on a Sunday afternoon, but you could also write a paper about it in film school. And I really like this era of movies, especially in the 60s and 70s, because movies were made to be entertaining. They had stars, but they also had layers. And I felt like this movie was a good balance of that.
Yeah, layers and a message. Absolute, like it fills you, like it fills you up when you get one of those messages at the end. Bryan, how about your background with this movie?
I watched this once. I want to say with either my dad or my grandfather, and I was way too young, and I did not care and did not pay enough attention to it. But for whatever reason, and let me know if you guys have ever had this experience where you remember a movie. And I'm using sort of remember a movie. Like you have an impression of a movie. And even though you didn't care for it at the time or really give it your full attention, for whatever reason, I remember it being a good movie.
Oh.
So
yeah.
I still...
Lawrence of Arabia for me growing up.
That's a great example because it took me years to revisit that one too. But truly, I don't know where my experience with it turned into an overall favorable opinion. But I distinctly, if you'd asked me 6 months ago before we ever decided on this, hey, what do you think about Cool Hand Luke? And I was like, I think it was pretty good. Like whatever happened enough in the movie to where I was like, oh yeah, that was pretty good. But I mean, if you also asked me to sit down and write a crappy synopsis for it, when you asked me the same question, I would have left so much stuff out.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. For whatever reason, I still had a positive opinion of it. I just hadn't revisited it in an appropriate setting or way as an adult?
This was my first time viewing it as well, and I watched it twice in 2 days. I was expecting not much, and I'll tell you why. I'm not the biggest Paul Newman fan, not because of Paul Newman, but because I found that some of the biggest movies with his name attached, I go kind of the opposite of what Bryan was saying, where I'm like, I hear this is really good, but it's just not doing it for me. And that's happened a couple of times. Nothing against Paul Newman. In fact, I think his performance is great here. I did enjoy this movie watching it, but it's not because like, oh, my expectations were low and I was surprised. It was more just the only thing I had to go on was, is this going to be one of those canonized movies that old heads say is great when it might not be? And that's what I had to fight to get past, but it took me very little time to say, oh, this has some great stuff going for it. So I liked it. I already watched it twice. This will go on like my recommendation list. I think it's worth seeing for anybody before we even get into it. I think it's worth seeing. As far as it holding up, I'm not certain that there are going to be a lot of things that are recognizable to generations in the future. But as far as a story that you can see its message or that you can peel back its layers, that's going to hold up forever. And we're going to talk way more about this movie here in just a bit. We're going to kick it over to a little ad read from one of our sister shows, some of our friends. When we come back, Bryan is going to reveal a plot summary. So if you haven't seen from 1967, Cool Hand Luke, pause us and then come right on back. See you on the other side.
Welcome to the All 80s Movies Podcast.
I'm Bill.
And I'm Jason. And this is the podcast where we talk about the blockbusters, the flops, and everything in between from one of the freshest decades for movies, the 1980s. So whether you're a brain, a jock, a valley girl, or a Jedi, we've got some 80s classics for you.
Do these movies stand the test of time? Are we discovering something new? Is there an 80s movie we're finally watching for the first time?
Join us each week as we dive into the cinematic nostalgia that inspired and influenced a generation. From the hits to the cult classics, we'll discuss our earliest memories, favorite scenes, fun facts, and our not-so-favorite movie moments too.
It's the All 80s Movies Podcast, now available on all major streaming platforms. Please subscribe and happy listening.
And we are back with your final warning. If you haven't seen from 1967, Cool Hand Luke, pause us and then watch it. Because now it's time for Bryan to reveal the plot summary. Take it away.
Cool Hand Luke follows Lucas Luke Jackson, a decorated World War II veteran who is sentenced to a Southern prison chain gang for a minor crime of cutting the heads off parking meters while drunk. From the outset, Luke refuses to conform to the prison's rigid sentence of rules and psychological control. His quiet defiance, marked by humor, resilience, and an unwillingness to submit, sets him apart from the other prisoners and brings him into conflict with the authoritarian guards, particularly the cold and unyielding captain. As Luke endures brutal punishment, failed escape attempts, and personal loss, he becomes a symbol of hope and rebellion for his fellow inmates, earning near mythic status among them. However, his resistance comes at a steep cost as the prison system proves relentless in crushing his individuality. After a particularly brutal punishment where he is forced to dig a hole, fill it back in, and then dig it again, Luke appears to break. Believing that they had succeeded in breaking Luke's will, the guards ask him to do a series of spectacles for the other inmates, like having him serve them all water and grabbing a gun for them. Little did they know he was stealing all the keys to the various trucks and makes off with one of them with his partner. This all comes to a conclusion as Luke, now in a church, asks God for a sign, only for the police and warden to arrive on the doorstep. In one last vocal defiance, Luke repeats the warden's failure to communicate line and is shot in the neck. The last you see of him is Luke smiling in the back of a police car as they drive him to a prison hospital over the objections of the police, who say he won't make it that far. Luke's myth continues as his friends and prison mates continue to tell his tale.
His myth continues on. And I think some of the background of this movie is that this was a recollection of being on a chain gang. And there was this figure, a guy who seemed to, at every turn, be fighting against the power, the one thing you don't do is what he's asked to do by his partner, what he's asked to do by George. I'm using the George Kennedy's name. What he's asked to do by Dragline is just give up. All you have to do is give up. And he just will not. And he can't. It's not in his bones. It's not who he is. Luke, affectionately nicknamed Cool Hand Luke, for his time playing and bluffing with nothing in his hands, but also continuing to stay in the fight, even though he's got nothing left to punch with. An interesting style of mythical character and fun to follow. Let me start with our guest, Luke. The world that we're presented with, the Florida Penitentiary Chain Gang. I think that the world presented to us is distant enough away from everyday life to be really alluring, to be really interesting to a normal audience. Is that enough to draw you in more than most movies?
I think so, and we'll get into the cinematography, but I think it comes with the cinematography, especially this era cinematography, that it'll always draw me in. It's just a lot of wide shots. It's that Technicolor, and the rawness of the movie and the characters and the prison itself, just the geography of the prison and how it's shot. It really feels like you're there. And we live in an era where there's like Shawshank Redemption, all these prison movies have come after this. So it's also, if you think about being in a 1967 audience, this is a pretty new, fresh thing to have this specific prison community.
Let's go ahead and pivot then to this really harsh world that we're in, because I think I was angling towards more like the societal differences of living under lock and key, under constant surveillance, constant supervision, the life of a prisoner, the life of a criminal. That's where I was initially going. But let's go ahead and stay in this topic of sweltering heat, backbreaking work. I think this is what this movie, let's just say using the cinematography, captures so well. Expand on this part.
It feels hot. This movie feels hot. Like you can feel the sweat. I watched it and it was probably 7 degrees outside, but it felt warm just watching this movie. The sweat, the grime. There's that. It just the sky just has a heatness to it, and the color of the sky. It just feels suffocating. There's a scene where there's a thunderstorm. And they're all complaining how hot it is, and they're debating like, well, should we open the windows? Well, the rain's going to come in and we're going to get soaked because we're in this really terrible living situation. Yeah. And if you've ever slept outside in the summer in a really hot rain, you know that feeling. And it was so palpable. And obviously they're doing this backbreaking work with the dust. It's just, you really feel like you're there with them. And that's what really captivated me from the beginning. Obviously, there's the Paul Newman effect, but you are in it, and you are in the heat and in the grime with these prisoners.
Bryan, jump in with this very particular atmospheric condition, which is that the sun's beating down, you're wiping the sweat off, you're covered in road dirt, and on top of that, what you're returning to is a narrow mattress. You've got a sheet and a blanket. There is just I'm not going to say claustrophobic, but there is a bit like the movie's humidity envelops you in a way.
Yeah, and I think I've seen several movies that really convey this in a really strong way, and this is definitely one of them. I mean, I remember thinking during the boxing scene, I was like, dude, I bet even the water in the pipes is hot. You know what I mean? Yep. Like, even when you go wash off from this, it's not like, you know, you can just stick your head under some nice cold water. I bet it's like tepid as heck pipes, and maybe even pulling from the swamp out back or something. Like, it's just, I can't imagine.
That's why the cold drinks are so valuable, right? Like, it's currency because they could, I don't know, they were cold. I don't know how cold they are.
I had the thought at one point, I was like, you know, if any of these guys ever get out, I bet they all live in like North Dakota after this.
Yeah. I always considered a soda pop. I always considered a Coca-Cola or a Knee High, you know, or a Dr. Enough, which is an East Tennessee soda. I always considered that like a sweet treat, and what didn't matter to me was how cold it was. And then I've worked a lot of years outside, and there's times when what you want is just a cold drink. Sometimes what you want is a cold beer, but a cold drink. But even just the way they say it in this movie, me and my friends had been quoting "cold drink" this way our entire lives because that's what you want. You want a cold drink. And, maybe your uncle or your dad was like remembering when they saw Cool Hand Luke, like, yeah, that's how they say it there. That's kind of all you want. Now, power lunch for us was you take a glass bottle Coke and you pour half a bag of Planters peanuts in there and you chug that down. And that was our protein shake. Let's also give credit to makeup artists in combination for very likely being out in the sun for real for a really long time.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, they look something.
They do.
They've been out there. Yeah.
They do. Those are some like bronze and red bodies. That's all I got to say. There's just like testosterone oozing off these guys. Like think how bad it smelled. Like it's just like we couldn't smell the movie. We don't have that. Like it's not a 4D movie or whatever it's called, but we can definitely you can doesn't take much to understand
through the air vent.
If you've been in a high school boys locker room, you can get a understanding of what it could smell like.
It's really unfair to Buck Kartalian, the guy who plays Dynamite, who is shoveling alongside Paul Newman's character when they're doing the blacktop scene. That dude is unnaturally ripped for this day and age.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Weird to see, right? We kind of expect everybody who's muscular of this day and age to be looking like Dragline. Or if you've got the muscle from hauling stuff around, you likely got that extra fat on you too. That guy strangely ripped and he's covered in hair. He smells like a sponge that you left in the sink. Like it's tough. That world they're living in is tough. And then they're coming back to the world of precision and counts. Bryan, the prison world. Sometimes in movies we get a glimpse into like the entire movie happens in a prison, or we're getting a glimpse into like the work truck. I love Con Air, for instance. There's a lot of different ways that we touched on prisons, but in this instance, we're talking about mainly like a work bus crew. How does this like prison culture affect your enjoyment of movies?
I got to tell you that one of the things that really strikes me about this film in particular is I never realized how much I like prison movies. So, I mean, we brought up Shawshank. I'm thinking, what's the Clint Eastwood Alcatraz movie? Is it just
Escape from Alcatraz?
Escape from Alcatraz. Like, there are some darn good prison movies. And based on what Dustin was just saying there, like I remember Whisper in Escape from Alcatraz being like, sometimes I think this is just one long count.
Mm-hmm. It is. The Green Mile, great prison.
Green Mile. Yeah. Green Mile's another good one.
Another hot movie. And I think this movie feels hotter than the Green Mile.
And I think that is it's not a direct representation from Cool Hand Luke to some other things that I really do revere. I talk about the first season of True Detective all the time, but that Southern mystique that kind of gets put into stuff like this just from the effort of trying to make it look like the South. I mean, they filmed all this in California, but whenever you do that piece where, you're trying to go for Florida, try to go for Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana, that sort of thing, there is an aura to it. And the heat has part of it. The thunderstorms definitely do. And even when in this movie, Paul Newman's piece in Thunderstorm is eerily reminiscent of Jim Carrey's in Bruce Almighty, where he's like, "Smite me, Almighty Tyner." So I don't know. It's that is definitely the vibe. Like, show me two things that give off the same energy, and I was like, "Yep, that's it." But yeah, I think they do a really good job, not just in making it look awful, but I feel like all of the actors involved look truly miserable all the time.
Interesting point, and I'm going to kick this over to you, Luke, is the conditions are opposite what anyone would want. We have our freedoms. We have our little boxes that we live in, and we get in our box on wheels and we go to the boxes that we work at. We have freedom to kind of do whatever we want. If I want to listen to a podcast or music, I get to choose exactly what I want. If I want to leave 5 minutes early, or if I want to show up to work 30 minutes late, I have the freedom to. If I want to bring my lunch, I can. If I want to stop and get a healthy adobo bowl or something, I can do that too. I can wear whatever I want. I can talk to whoever I want. We have all these freedoms. Does it seem counterintuitive that we would be interested in prison movies where specifically the world is one where your freedoms are taken away?
It is fascinating that we do love prison stories. I think, speaking as an American in America, that we do love stories about independent spirit. And the prison movie typically is about escaping or defying a system of control without freedom. And so I think there is attractiveness to that story, and there's a lot of American prison movies because of that. But I think it goes to what I think a lot of this movie is about is defiance in the independent spirit. Is how can you rebel back in a way that is within the system or aligned, and then how could you break out? And I think that's what attracts us to prison movies. It's not necessarily because, and maybe part of it is like, what is that world like? We don't know. If you haven't been to a prison or haven't visited someone, you might not know what it's like, or watch a documentary. So I think there is an allure to it, but I think it's a typically deeper sense of spirit and independent spirit that draws us, and why these stories do work.
Gosh, you have just opened the wellspring of my brain into how I want to pursue the next bit of conversation that I don't dominate with just psychological numbers. Here's the thing that you just made me think of. I initially started with I wanted to ask you about the culture of prison being so different than what most people experience. Most people in the audience for this movie haven't been to jail or prison. So seeing a movie about prison or about a chain gang, or very particular type of thing in that world, is just so alien to them, and it would be. It's alien to most. I'm going to preface what I say next with the idea that I have spent too many nights in the local county Hilton, too many, and those days are behind me. But I've been a part of counts. I've been a part of days. On top of that, my degrees are in criminal justice. So I've studied it and I've been a part of it. And I used to tell my students, I've been in the back of a cop car way more than I've been in the front of one. And that's a great place to come from when it comes to seeking this knowledge. But what you just said about God, the American spirit of wanting to champion the people that are independent thinkers or that want to rebel, man, what you just opened in me is, does it become easier to feel as if you're rebelling if you're labeled a rebel, or if you're labeled a rule breaker? 15 minutes in, we get, not just from the way that this is shot, counting as you enter the yard, going over all of the rules from Boss Carr, who's saying this is, first bell is this, second bell is this. You do not smoke in the prone position. Nobody gets in their bed in unwashed drawers. All this. This is the way it's going to go. Where you
go to the box. Great. Mm-hmm. It's a great line reading. That whole scene is fantastic.
That really, really is. But these rules are set upon you, and then you're given a different set of rules. The rules from the inmates themselves.
Right.
And that's where, and this is something I will probably come back to forever, Luke, is, does it feel good from an audience perspective, to view from the criminal's perspective, or view from the downtrodden, the oppressed, the person who is locked up, from their perspective? It feels almost easier to spout rebellious or to fight the man if you're taking the perspective of someone who's, actually got a record. Most people don't. Now, I got to say, I do. So I've already felt that way. And when I have discussions about fighting the power with my other people in the boardroom who very clearly have not, sometimes I realize, my voice is different than y'all.
Right.
But let's talk about these sort of rules. Let's talk about this sort of informal culture of the prison world. Bryan, did you feel like the way our George Kennedy character, Dragline, I'm not going to say cronies, but like his brothers in arms, Coco, Loudmouth, Rabbit, some of these guys, this culture.
Abalugas. Or whatever. So great.
That what we also get is under these conditions, there still is a culture, a brotherhood, a way things go. To me, that's fascinating. What do you think?
I think that every movie that has ever really investigated or made you investigate what being in prison is truly like has a cadre of great nicknamed characters.
That's true.
I think it's, I mean, I'm assuming that's how it really is. Like it's like you go into the Air Force, you get a call sign, you go to prison, you get a nickname. It's just how it goes. I always kind of get excited to see like where they go with it and why. Like, do they even bother, really defining it? Like, you get where Cool Hand Luke got his nickname, obviously.
Great reveal of that.
But sometimes you're just curious where, why is this your nickname? So, I think it's one of those things that in the apparatus of watching the movie, you have to have the characters' names almost be a vital percentage of what you're finding out about said character, because there's a finite amount of character development that you can really get out of a prison movie, because theoretically all these guys are fronting in some sort of way, because who you are inside isn't who you are on the outside. You have to act a certain way, and this goes into the conformity piece of this movie. You have what the guards expect you to do, which you pretty much have to, and then you have what you do among your, the camaraderie among inmates, and even that has its rigid system, which is also what Luke is fighting against, because in the very beginning he goes, "I just hear a bunch of people spouting off rules at me."
Mm-hmm.
So,
bosses need all the help they can get.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, when you have characters and they have to, come alive in some meaningful way where each of them has an independency, but they also have a codependency because they have to be this certain thing, the nicknames really come in to give you an idea of what's going on. And I'll use the analogy of having a call sign again. Something like the Navy or the Air Force requires a whole lot of everybody being exactly the same. They're molding you into one type of thing. But you get into something, I'll use Top Gun Maverick is probably one of the more recent examples, where everybody's got their cool little nickname and it all means something, but you get into why, you get a guy like Hangman, and it's like, that's why we call him Hangman, because he'll always hang you out to dry. Like they're basically telling you this is not the guy you can count on. So, the nickname, the call sign, whatever you want to call it, is indicative of the character. I don't think that unless they're really dropping the ball on something, that it's something you can just make up on a whim or off the hip.
Well, conditions being as poor as they are, there's a whole lot of smiling and laughing and camaraderie in this movie, Luke. Yeah. I think that has to contribute to a serious number of these positive reviews.
Absolutely. And it's a dudes movie, right? Like this is a murderer's row, pun intended, of 60s male character actors that are in all your dad's and granddad's favorite movies, right? Like there's some a young Dennis Hopper's in this movie. It's just crazy that if you go down the list of who's in this movie, and I think that's what makes it a fun movie to watch and rewatch, is because you have all these little side characters, all these men, and the camaraderie that grows over the movie is what's surprising. Because at the start, Luke comes in, he's an outsider, and he's coming into a culture, and then he becomes essentially the leader of the group, or the co-captain of the group. Yeah. And it's that subculture that makes you endeared to not only Luke, but all these guys around him. And the camaraderie, I think, it's like a sports movie too. It's like I recently watched The Replacements. They all have kind of nicknames. They all have quirks, and you really fall in love with them. It's that lovable losers mentality, and I think it's the same thing with this movie. You fall in love with them, their way of life, the games that they play just to fight off boredom, their rebellion by working really fast. All these little things build up, so you are really on their team, quote unquote. And Cool Hand Luke is the quarterback of the team, which builds towards his quote unquote fall to be so dramatic. I think one of my favorite shots that we'll talk about is it's a tracking shot, pan shot of all the bunks of all the guys watching Luke return from digging the ditches, but essentially being broken by the bosses. And it's like seeing the quarterback break his arm or throw an interception. It's that team camaraderie that I think is built in this prison movie, but a lot of prison movies or any movie, a Top Gun, even like I think about The Matrix, like that crew, the human crew, they all have nicknames outside of the Matrix, and they have camaraderie. It captures that spirit, and as a moviegoer, you love to be on that team. As weird and quirky as they can be, you want to be on that team.
Well, particularly because you can watch them you can be on the team and watch them without having to do something that lands you in prison.
Right, exactly. It's even
All right, so a warm-up question that'll go promptly at the end. What is your prison nickname?
Oh, see, here's the problem, guys. I already have one. Luke, do you want to make one up? I'll tell you mine while you guys come up with what you want yours to be. Mine is super lame. One of my jail buddies, I won't say his name. One of my jail buddies, his nickname was the Transporter because his hair was thinning, and in jail his beard came the same way that Statham's does. And it just kind of became around the yard like Transporter's in town, and I'm like, it really does kind of look like. And we were young enough to where he still had a good build from like playing DB in school, so that was good. Mine is super lame. Mine is so lame. It's the Calculator.
Oh, I think that's pretty good
because we had to go. I've been on the work bus, yo. Yeah, I've been on the work bus. The scene of him eating beans, like you got to eat those beans fast. I remember the bus driving through the depot, not even stopping, and they throwing a couple of loaves of white bread in and some packs of bologna. It's like, all right, it's feeding time. Like we got something to eat. We'd grab it and we'd eat, and we'd go back to weeding along the side of the highway. But the reason I got calculators on rainy days, we weren't allowed to operate the machinery outside, so we had to go and count cans at the local food donation space, and it blew some of my colleagues' minds that I could do times tables by counting the rows and columns.
Oh yeah.
It was so surprising to them. I mean, I think we've got a couple of people in this movie that are illiterate. Tell me what those words say. Right. There's some people in there that said, "Holy, you finished school? You can do this? Calculators in town." So now towards Brian's question, Luke, what's your prison nickname?
My freshman dorm, I did have a nickname, which there's a lot of similarities to my freshman dorm with, I think, some of the culture of the less discipline and rules and more sleeping in video games and debauchery. But I have small hands for being so big. I'm 6'5" and I have really long arms, but I have small hands. So my nickname was Baby Girl Hands Ferris. So I guess that would be my prison name, because everyone's like, "Wow, you must be able to dunk," and it's like, "Nah, I got the small hands."
Baby girl.
I do.
Baby girl hands.
I don't know how it wouldn't be Small Hand Luke.
Small hand Luke. That's probably a better one.
For some reason, the way that you said it reminds me of Mr. Deeds. Have you ever seen the movie Mr. Deeds?
Yes, of course.
He is Steve Buscemi's character. Don't worry, time heals all things, except for these crazy eyes. These small hands. Yeah, you got the small hand. Damn, 6'5".
Those feet will haunt my dreams.
Yes. So.
And, all right. So, did you have one in mind for yourself? Did you get a moniker, Bryan?
I don't know. I think that I'm gonna steal Ray Winston's from The Departed. I think I would
Nice.
end up being Mr. French, just because my last name is Frye. So I feel
Mr. French.
I feel like Mr. French ends up it's low hanging fruit, but yeah, I think something like that.
In Con Air, there's a cross-dressing person on the plane whose nickname is Sally Can't Dance.
Yes.
Right.
Never understood it exactly why, but that we should do it someday.
I
It's one
think
of
they
my
tried
favorites.
to
I would
dance
love to
several
come back for
times
that.
and they really can't.
Yeah, I think we talked a little about the camaraderie here, but there is an incredible portrayal and a really important instrument to the success of this movie, which is the impending looming presence of all of your POs and your guards and your walk-in bosses. Luke, the portrayal of these necessary characters for this world, they could have gone a lot of directions with how they portray them, right? We could have Hogan's Heroes Great Escape style where they're kind of goofballs, but instead we went a different direction. How do you feel about how they tackled?
I felt like they were pretty grounded. It was you could get that southern style. I would say some of that southern stereotype, but I thought all the guards and the bosses were pretty interesting. Actually, Clifton James, who has the cigar, he's in the Bond movies, as W.J. Pepper, and that's one of the most outlandish, it's one of the most probably one of the more offensive parts of the Bond franchise. And he plays, out of many things that have not aged well from the Bond franchise. But it was interesting to watch him in this movie. He obviously is playing a Southern character, but it's more pulled back, and I think maybe just that alone I was like, oh wow, they're going for a different tone here. They're not hamming it up.
Right, they are.
I think there was. I remember the line where Luke goes into the box for the first time, and it's about after he finds out his mom's died, and one of the bosses or guards says, I prayed for your mother. And there's kind of like this, he's trying to be sympathetic to Luke. And because at one point, everyone kind of loves Luke, especially after the egg eating contest. Like you can see everyone's kind of in on it. People are betting, the kitchen's involved. It feels like there's this real like good vibe in the place. And then when Luke runs away, the turn starts to happen, and then you see that these bosses are personally offended and they're doing a bad job. They had someone who got away twice, and then their shift really happens. So I think, although there is some drama to it, it does feel grounded and somewhat realistic, but also they are having fun a little bit too with the Southern aspect.
The movie has so much of it that is fun to see.
Right.
This movie was 2 steps away from being dreary and, oh my gosh, I need him to escape. The first escape attempt with 50 minutes left in the movie, I think you are destined to think, well, I kind of don't want to leave this world. It's fun here.
Yeah, we're having a lot of fun. I like this, like all these, all this stuff we're doing.
What are they going to do next? And then it's like, well, by definition, most of the time in movies, there's a general idea that like, don't run away, you'll make it worse.
Right.
And instead, Luke can't help himself but to go against what is expected. But I do want to talk about sort of the one who's most villainous of the portrayed bosses, Boss Godfrey, walking boss. Bryan, how's this guy rank among your antagonists in movie?
I feel like he was light fish. They kept painting him out to be this ominous specter, and I get it with the sunglasses and the Mr. No Eyes and all that stuff. But here's the thing. It's not like he was out there mistreating him. He wasn't beating him on the line. He basically just showed up and did his job. I think out of all the prison movies I've ever seen where there has been misuse and abuse of prisoners by the guards, this is PG. if not
Yeah.
G-rated.
Well,
And they never look. This is obviously not me trying to be an apologist for the man here or anything, but it's just a bunch of people who showed up and did their job.
well, yeah.
So, you have something like Shawshank Redemption, where obviously there's some more notorious stuff going on. You have stuff like Escape from Alcatraz, where you had that sort of behavior, being shot in the head with a beanbag because they knew it would kill you, kind of stuff. Really, the only time where you saw somebody really step outside of their purview as a law enforcement officer is when they theoretically kill him.
Yeah.
And that happens in the last 60 seconds of the movie.
I view the Man with No Eyes almost like destiny or death. Like I feel like because he's always looking, he's looming. There's obviously he's watching Luke. I think there's some sort of symbolism they're trying to use with him.
Mm-hmm.
Because it wasn't like they had a big showdown fight at the end.
Right. And
Right.
I love your description, Bryan, of like he's this supposed specter, that he wields a power which is I just think that while you are correct, there's nothing you said that was wrong. There are some aspects of him that give him forgive the intrusion, but give him a Darth Vader style aura, even though he's not killing people. Is the idea that like he shows up with his cane and there is this sort of latent power, which is I have my chain gang people that when they see me, one of them goes and gets my rifle. And then I change the rifle for the cane and I take the bolt. He takes the bolt out of his belt where the gun is useless without him being there. And he's also a crack shot. So we're shown this, it's not supernatural. We're shown this power that he has. The rest of the institution and the nature of sort of trying to break a problematic inmate, right? You got your mind right? That is perhaps representative of the greater, we can say quote unquote villainy, but they are just doing their jobs. They're the ones who haven't broken the law. So real interesting dichotomy. I like how you said that, but I just think his aura is great. And I think that it's actually, tell me if I'm off base here. Do you think Boss Godfrey is the beginning of our sunglasses as menacing trope in media?
Ooh, it's got to be early on. At least the sunglasses reflection shot. I mean, from a cinematography standpoint.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of another movie in the 60s that is that overt. But yeah, he definitely is one of them. Should be honored as an OG sunglasses wearing character.
Well, another chain gang movie, kind of, is Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
In which case our destiny/death chasing Everett and the boys is a sunglass wearing sheriff who's just doing his job, right? But shows up and, captures Pete and then they pardoned us on the radio. We ain't got no radio. Like that particular portrayal is getting back to the cinematography. Luke, I think you had wanted to bring up the cinematography earlier.
I thought there was a number of shots that felt fresh and felt modern. Obviously, the glasses shot I just mentioned. One of the interesting shots that it's pretty overt what the symbolism is, but when Luke first gets to the prison and they're talking about his service, there's a shot where the U.S. flag is in the background, the prison flag, and framed in the background. And it's just a quick shot of the flag with Luke as they're mentioning his service. And it's just kind of a haunting way to show this character is obviously a war hero, even though he's aloof to it. He's, he just was killing time. That one stood out to me. Some of the wide shots, especially when they're boxing, the boxing match, when they're shooting it really wide, you see the circle ring and they just stay on Luke way after everyone's kind of left the arena and he's still standing up. That was another one of my favorite shots. So there was little pieces of
walking away. He's done with the fight. The circle's about dispersing and it's still centered on him, but not really close on him. The aerial shot is really good.
And then a lot of the working shots when they're working on the roads and on the line is especially when we see them putting the sand on the asphalt. The man with no eyes is walking down the middle. There was a lot of interesting shots. There's a lot of space in the shots as well, to kind of give that. It was claustrophobic, but it didn't feel like you were in this big cell block. It didn't feel like Escape from Alcatraz where you're claustrophobic. Yeah. They were willing to like shoot wide. It was almost like there's a loneliness to this life where there's this camp and where they work.
Would have liked to have seen a little bit more of him after the second escape attempt, actually, living some life and whatnot, or at the very least, how they caught up to him. Like, you never really find out how they caught him in the second, or how that transpired. You go back to a time, and I know this movie was vying with Bonnie and Clyde at the time. If you go back to a time where, the FBI is still fairly fledgling, crossing state lines, get you out of a lot of trouble. That sort of thing can help you. I'm just wondering, like, how did he once he was actually free and clear enough to get a photo taken with two beautiful women in a suit. I presumably you can get as far away as you need to not have to be drugged back to jail. And the second thing that I'll say on this is, I understand the rebellious spirit and everything, and I also think it's incredibly funny that the reason he gets locked up in the first place is decapitating meters while drunk. But I mean, I felt like more than 2 years passed before his first escape attempt. Yeah, and I don't know how parole worked back then. It seems they even say it's like, wow, we've never had one of you here before. Like that's a weird thing to get locked up for. We've got long timers. So it's just why? Like I get you're. That's a good Strother cool. impression. You're cool hand Luke. I get it. You're different and whatever. But 2 years, man. Like this, you weren't in there for double homicide. Right. You weren't in there, consecutive life terms. Like this, it smacks a little bit of impatience at that point where you're just like, come on, guy. And your mom even showed up and said, please do something with yourself.
But I think that's where it starts to turn for him because I think that's when his coolness goes away because his interaction with his mom and finding out his mom is dead. I think it's subtle, but it rattles him a little bit. Well, he kind of leans into his self-destructive behavior.
I'll also backtrack on one thing. I think it really rankled him that they put him in the box for no reason other than his mother died. So that's probably the first abuse of power misstep that encourages his defiance. And that does, light the fuse on the whole thing. But at the same time, like, for a guy who can play it so cool, like, I mean, how long was he there when all that happened? Like, I'd like to at least know.
We don't know, but it's hard to know, like what,
like 2 years. Yeah, it just, I don't know, that part kind of rankled me a little bit because you're not Clint Eastwood in Escape from Alcatraz. You're not Tim Robbins in Shawshank Redemption. Like this is hard time, but you're not doing long time, hard time. So it's just a little odd to me that they do a good job of making you feel that time has passed.
Yes.
So I just don't really understand how enough time hadn't passed for him to presumably be out like in months is kind of where I'm looking at this from.
Aside from marking tallies on the wall, or aside from movie magic just telling you 1 year passes.
1 year later.
Aside from that, I guess there could have been the introduction of a scene where new meat shows up again.
Right.
Sure.
Right. That could be a way to show you could change facial hair, perhaps. There's a couple of things you could do, but we don't know for sure. But this past little discussion has just made me think. He's taking the heads off these meters, and it's pretty funny. And he thinks it's pretty funny, and
he's like sloshed too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then he has to try to escape. Right? He can't not. Right? And nobody else.
I would say after his first escape attempt, I don't know what that adds to your sentence, but I'm assuming it's not good. But in terms of how you'd find out, I mean, that's a fairly easy, other inmate going, "Oh, come on, Luke, you only got 5 months left." You know what I mean? Like when he's sawing at the floor, like, you don't need to do this.
Right. So here's the way this has led my brain again. Did he really want to escape? Just want to be a hassle to these guards. I think he yearns for the cage.
Yes.
I think he needs without anything else, because there was that girl, but she won't go marry him, right? There is post-world life where he had that one good job, but that's long gone. He doesn't know what he's going to do. So
yeah, he's never planned a thing in his life.
What best way to continue to be a thorn in the side of the powers that be than to stay under their thumb to keep pricking? I don't think he tried that hard to escape. I think he wanted to lead him on a chase. And we saw
so it becomes
the third escape, on the third one, when after him and Dragline get away, Dragline's all excited. We're going to go to my house and we're going to meet these farm girls. And we're going to after we get there, he's like, I'm just going to go on my own. I don't really want to try. He says something about like shaking the world, but the idea is, I think that's big talk. I don't think Luke has anything greater or better to do than to stay in his sardine can. The best he can be is a hero to convicts.
Who's the guy in Shawshank Redemption that like works a week at the grocery store and then hangs himself because, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. So,
but it's that thing, like you're so used to prison life and the regimen and the routine and whatever that once you're out, like you don't know what to do with yourself anymore. But, and I guess I would agree with that in this instance, but the military was his prison. And as soon as he was out of that, because he was never promoted, like heroics, sure, but they make a point of saying
private in, private out.
Yeah, private in, private out. So I'm sure he probably wasn't not problematic to his commanding officers as well. And so I think he traded one prison for another.
Right, and that's all he knows. Yeah, I think that's kind of all he knows. I think that's his like aimlessness. And when he talks to his mom, he's just like, yeah, I just never could figure it out. I don't know what I am. And I think that's what the final scene is so powerful, is he's talking to God like, you put me here, like I am who I am. Like I've got this kind of low key aloofness for reality. That's where that's the independent spirit and defiance. Like he almost sees how everything is a little bit of mirage, like reality and the constructs. And it really speaks to someone coming back from World War II, seeing all the destruction of life and how fragile it is, and they come back and everyone's fine, and it's in the baby boomer generation, and his colleagues are buying houses and getting jobs at Ford Motor Company, and he's like, we just came back from hell on earth.
For what?
And everyone seems to be fine, but I'm not. I'm not. I can't just come back into this, white collar society or whatever America was back then.
Is Dragline commanding a room or respect outside of prison? No. And then you think of all these guys. We got a character. I love Harry Dean Stanton, by the way, but who knows what he was up to before. But we have that one character, Society Red, who looks as if his shirt is maybe a little more pressed. He combs his hair. So the idea is, would he have mattered outside? Maybe. But would a lot of these guys have mattered outside? No, not really. Yeah. And that's an interesting, for me, that is an interesting way to sort of approach this is the best version of your life inside. And is your only expectation is to go out on the bus and chop these weeds down and tar this road when you're told to. And then you get your 3 squares and you get holidays off, and you get to listen to the radio. There was something that happened earlier. Speaking of military making you into not individuals, but copies of the same weapon. That's ideal. These guys all shower together. No hiding. There's no. They all wear the exact same clothes. There's a little bit of individualism, but they all have to be counted the exact same way. There's a really particular scene where Bosscar moves a peg from like the 50 spots into the hole. They're like, one in the hole, and like he puts that peg over there. That's all you are, like peg here. But it's almost as if like this, you can be a different version of yourself. There are no masks like you wear when you're outside, like we wear when we interact with our jobs, our coworkers, our partners, anyone. Is that these people have lost it. It's not like there's nothing to lose. They've lost it. They've lost their freedom. So they're in here. They can be their real selves. Now, I'm not advocating that the only way to be your real self is to hit rock bottom, which is an interesting thought experiment. Instead, what I'm saying is this is a fun way to set the scene for any character traits, any displays of emotion, which is these guys have nothing left. And yeah, maybe they'll get out, but it's I think such a cool atmosphere to write a movie in. Like kudos to this idea for this movie. Like this is a fun take, which the setting shouldn't be fun, but it ends up being fun without being zany or without being Benny Hill music,
What's the answer to this in non-military civilian life?
Oh.
Like, if you just want to be with the guys, like, is this road work? Is it axemen, roughnecking? Like, what? I'm just wondering. Like,
tuna,
yeah, you know what I mean. Like, what's the what is the choice here? Where it's like, hey, I watch a movie like this and I like the camaraderie and that's part of the enduring piece of this. Like, where do I find that without breaking the law?
Yeah, I've got a little bit of a theory that's tied from this. If you guys want to go down this rabbit hole, specifically Paul Newman, I think this is one of his most autobiographical roles because we're talking about being in a group of people, camaraderie. Paul Newman being in Hollywood. We talk about camaraderie, especially in the 60s and 70s, those movie stars, that culture, you were celebrated. I think there's some moments in this movie where Paul Newman is the cool character. He walks in, he's calm, cool, collected, just like Paul Newman was as a star. Everyone loved him. He's good looking. He's charismatic. He's just acts cool. And everyone kind of falls in line and loves him. Then we have some of these performances, these tricks, these dares, and people really, really enjoy him. But there's this deepness and darkness underneath that we don't really see all the time. And in this environment, like Hollywood, movie star, everyone loves you, is paying you attention, giving you money. You can act very cool, but deep down there's something broken. And when it gets exposed, there's a moment where he's on the floor coming back from the digging the ditches, and he's like, where are you now? And I think if you know more about Paul Newman's life, he struggled with alcoholism, he had struggles with his marriage, and he always was someone that was trying to pay penance for some of his inner demons. And I think this movie, this character, I think is very autobiographical to the things that were happening in his personal life, being in the Hollywood system, being a star, and always kind of being discontent with his fame. Obviously, Cool Hand Luke is famous within this prison community, but I think it's similar to how Paul Newman interacted with his fame as a movie star.
Okay.
The nickname is great, and I like it for him, but something else was a twinge earlier in this conversation, which is I think everybody in the world would like to think they are, or their version of themselves that they might like the best is cool.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody says, I'd like to be less cool, actually. Right? So the reason I bring this up is you cannot be cool all the time. You have to try. Trying isn't cool.
Right.
Unless you're in a business culture where rise and grind, trying is very cool. But is that a mask you're wearing? I would argue it is.
Yes.
I like to think that I exude a lot of cool, but I also make it a point to say, I am going to be like the productivity, like, let's up and at 'em, let's go, let's do our meeting at 9 a.m. Hey, you showed up at 9:04, you're late to the meeting, meeting's over. Like, I like to be that guy too, just to show my bosses that I'm working this. But that's not cool. Cool Hand Luke is cool as his number one master status. And if the world isn't giving you something for just being cool, that's a lesson too. That's a listen to all of our 25-year-olds and younger listeners.
Be cooler if it did.
We love that you're cool, and you probably are very cool. But being cool doesn't get you anywhere. I'm not trying to say Cool Hand Luke is less cool for being too cool. What I'm trying to say is that your sort of incisiveness into how Paul Newman was kind of dealing with this sort of atmosphere of his own life is everyone likes him because he's cool, but he ends up the saddest and he ends up in the worst off of everybody in this. That's something interesting. Now, just before we get into our superlatives, we've got other topics that we could bring up here. I love to talk about the topics as we get into our awards, but Bryan, let me ask, was there anything, whether it was costuming, was there anything music related, anything about this movie that you want to touch on before we hit our awards section?
I actually really do like the film score. I made a point to listen to it end to end just while I was typing up my notes and stuff for it earlier today. Whether it's the banjo or the guitar or whatever they're playing at any given time. I think at one point in time, and correct me if I'm wrong here, while he's digging the hole, aren't they singing Midnight Express?
Yeah, because there's that line, "Ain't no grave gonna hold my body down."
But Midnight Express is also the name of a movie where I think a guy or a girl gets thrown into prison in Turkey. So, but that movie would have been
Midnight
probably
Special.
Oh, Midnight Special. Okay. And so anyway, that was another thing that I didn't take time to look up. I just had my my gears turning while I was watching it.
I love the guitar theme, the main theme. It's cool. Like it's that low bass kind of hum. It really feels like the character of Cool Hand Luke. But then I love the diegetic music throughout the movie, where we have some of our prisoners playing music on the guitar. It adds to that Southern flair, and it adds to the idea that they're bored too on their days off. Like there's not much going on, and just playing music and also playing music, especially in that scene where they're trying to encourage Luke to keep going. I really like that mixture of having a good score, but also having music within the movie. When Paul Newman sings "Plastic Jesus," I think that's one of the most beautiful parts of this movie, and why he was nominated for an Oscar.
Really touching moment. I will also say, like, Harry Dean Stanton's the one who's singing and playing guitar.
Yeah.
During a lot of this, he did have his own band. I thought that was a cool nod that we're going to take this real rugged looking character, and you got him. Might as well use him. Yeah, and they do. I will say that I think it was his rendition of "Just a Closer Walk with Thee" is really good, and it's a reminder that the best version of gospel music is bluegrass acoustic. That's the best gospel. And a lot of movies that focus on chain gang or like Southern Penitentiary make great use of gospel music, and this one does as well. But yeah, that guitar theme that opens the movie, we have scene transitions with it, and then it closes the movie. It's really, really good. So that's a big deal for me. Luke, I'm going to toss the same question to you. Anything else you got to cover before we hit our awards?
Because this movie was nominated and won Oscars, I want to play a little Oscars game with you guys before we get into the superlatives. So Paul Newman was nominated for this, but he did not win, obviously. it took him many years afterward to win. He won in 1987. He was actually nominated for an honorary Oscar the year before, but he won in 1987 for The Color of Money. This is a trope within the Oscars. This is like a mini trope within the Oscars of actors, iconic actors who take many nominations to win an award or are winning an award for a movie they're not well known for. Can you think of other actors that took multiple nominations before winning an Oscar?
I mean, DiCaprio's the easy low hanging fruit here.
Yep, he's number 3 on my list.
He had a quote when he finally won for The Revenant. I feel like they were handing the statues or boxing the statues for whatever, and they asked him some question, and he was like, "I don't know, this is my first one." Like they ask him a question like, "Oh, you know how this works?" And he's like, "No, I really don't."
No, yeah. A couple more on the list. Al Pacino is the number 1. He had 7 nominations before winning. Jeff Bridges had 4 before winning, and he won for Crazy Heart. Jack Nicholson, who's the most decorated, but it took him 4 nominations before he won for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Robert Duvall 3, Joaquin Phoenix 3, and he won for The Joker. Will Smith won for King Richard, was nominated twice beforehand. Yeah, weird. And then Henry Fonda was nominated twice. That included a producer, but he most famously won on Golden Pond when he was well into, I think, his 70s, and is one of the golden age actors. So it's one of those trends that you see in this Oscars political system where they will give the Oscar to an actor or sometimes a director when it's maybe not for that specific movie, but more about your lifetime
achievement. Yeah, it's sort of like, is that person a Hall of Famer? And then versus, are they first ballot?
Exactly.
Which in baseball is very hard to do, and what's impossible to do is to be unanimous. There's going to be a writer that doesn't vote you.
The next thing I'm going to say is absolutely not an indictment on the people who actually did win, but my most recent snub, or at least feeling of snubbery, was Demi Moore.
Right. You would think she would have won that. That is a perfect example. It would have been.
That was Demi absolutely brutal.
It's you thought it was going to happen because that's typically what happens, and it didn't, which is a surprise. So maybe the trend's changing. I mean, Tom Cruise is kind of the big one. They've created a category for him to win an Oscar with the stunts. But I'm curious to see if Tom, he's rumored to be doing more dramatic roles and dipping back into that world. He's one on my list. If he does, I think, a halfway decent drama in the next 10 years, he will be getting an Oscar.
Okay.
Well, I try to think of stuff that he's done in the past that, we got Vanilla Sky, Last Samurai,
Born on the 4th of July,
Ooh. American Made.
It's a tough one. American Made,
Color of Money, The Firm, Eyes Wide Shut. Probably not nominated, but
man, for as much as I like Kubrick and his specific brand of weird, that movie was horrible.
It's coming back. It's coming back into favor. People are really, really resurrecting that movie, especially around the holidays. It's the least holiday movie.
You'll never hear me talk more about film score than you would for the 3 notes on a piano that made that movie recognizable. Ding, ding, ding.
Paul Newman won for that 1987 movie. What was it? Was it
The Color of Money with Tom Cruise?
And The Color of Money is
a sequel.
The sequel to The Hustler.
Yeah,
25 years earlier.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is insane, and it's insane that they gave him a Lifetime Achievement Award in 1986, a year before he eventually won the Oscar. So it's probably one of the more prime examples of. We gave this guy an honorary Oscar award because we didn't think he had another Oscar-winning performance in him, but then he did the next year.
So, all right, just not to harp on too far on the Tom Cruise train. Would you, in retrospect, give him an Oscar for Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh, I mean, if for Luke's Oscars, yes.
Like that was one of those movies that
Emily Blunt is the lead. In
it didn't get. I don't think it got proper respect. It's something that gained steam from a cult following over time, and now I really feel like it's probably one of his. I'd have to go look, obviously, but I think in terms of actual ratings, it would be one of his higher rated movies. It is a science fiction action film, which almost automatically discounts it from.
Yeah, it's not even going to make it into the room,
right? But man, that was a good movie. He plays that part very well.
You could argue it's probably his best 2000s. I mean, Millennium movies. If you think about like his different eras, it's definitely, I think, one of his best, if not best.
And just for the record, and because I know someone will probably remember and bring it up at some point in time, Vanilla Sky was just brutal. I don't know if you've seen the movie, but
one of my friend's favorite movies.
It's very divided. Some people love it.
Yeah,
some people love it.
I saw it in theaters with originator of the podcast, John Flack, and he left with glowing reviews, and I left with what the F did we just watch? And maybe it will take a revisit. Maybe being a little older and wiser will help. That certainly helped with Lost in Translation. I left Lost in Translation like that was crap, and then I watched it, in my late 30s, and I was like, I was way too young to understand any of this. So you've got to taste a little of the bitterness of life before Lost in Translation means much to you. But I don't know. There are definitely movies that they have their time and place, and you have to be in a different headspace in your life before you get it.
I think for Cruz to get his Oscar, they need to make the trilogy of The Hustler, and he needs to be essentially the Color of Money Newman role for someone young. But that's essentially what they did with Top Gun Maverick. So I don't know if you can do it.
The horror story of movies like that has got to be Wall Street 2.
Yeah.
Like that was such a dumpster fire. And
I'd like to throw in my 2 unnamed Tom Cruise roles. War of the Worlds. Not everybody liked the movie.
Yeah.
I liked that.
Yeah, it's Spielberg. It's a good adaptation.
And 2,
I hope Tropic
Interview
Thunder?
with the Vampire.
No, Tropic Thunder.
His Lestat isn't good, but it's definitely better than Stuart Townsend's.
Yes. Have you watched the AMC? I think it's AMC show.
No, you told me to.
People love it. Yeah, people say it's much more truthful and better.
I'll tell you, I read the first 3 books in the Lestat series because I've just felt like, as a book person, I had to experience Anne Rice as an author. It gets insane as her books go on. I think like the most recent Lestat book she wrote is like Lestat in Atlantis or something. It's like, what? But
give me Lestat in Atlanta. Know what I'm saying?
It was bizarre to me, and I did really enjoy the show. I thought it was more coupled to what she was trying to push out there, and if you like that Southern Gothic vibe, that's definitely something you'll get from those books.
Yeah. Well, let's take our time with our superlatives to talk even more about this movie. Luke, I'm going to start with you. Who's the MVP of this movie?
It's right on the title of the movie, Cool Hand Luke. It's Paul Newman. Those blue eyes, his charisma make this movie. There's everything around it is good too, but you got to have Newman if the title is Cool Hand Luke.
It's really interesting is that one of the hardest things to do and one of the most often failed endeavors is to write a character who's like, oh, the thing about this character is that he's funny. That's impossible to do.
Impossible.
But you know what's not impossible? The thing about this character is he's cool. And it works because it's Paul Newman.
Exactly.
Good call. Bryan, who's your MVP?
I also went Paul Newman. I don't think this movie works the same way. I as an exercise, I tried to think of who I would recast over him, and like that like Luke said, like this is kind of who Paul Newman was. And some of the best acting performances are people who channel a lot of themselves into a character because they see part of themselves in it. And I don't think this works with somebody else, at least not in the same way.
I think Paul Newman is kind of a pillar around what this movie can stand on and is supported by. I actually went full MVP to George Kennedy as Dragline. I think that character provides the lift, provides a little bit of subtle conflict early, but then becomes a character. But you very much are like interested in seeing him in every scene he's in. You like him. What an incredible affectation to the voice, and an interesting Southern guy. I just think that role is great, and he won the Oscar for Best Supporting. I think well deserved. So even though if I had to bet money, I would say that both of you would have selected him for Best Supporting. He's my MVP. Now let's get to that. Luke, who is your Best Supporting actor?
You'd be correct. You would get a cold drink from me for sure, because George Kennedy is Best Supporting Actor, and that's a great point. Is because he could have easily been a one-note character, kind of the jerk, the former like king of the group who gets taken down by Cool Hand Luke, and that could have been the tension in the movie. But I like how full circle it actually becomes, where at the end of the movie, you're so endeared to him, and it's what makes that final scene work is him yearning and calling for Luke of like, hey, let's go have fun. And then when he gets to the church, like, just come with me, Luke, just come with me. We'll even get our same bunks. Like it's amazing that at the start of the movie, you're not really liking him and what he's about, to at the end of the movie where you feel endeared to him as an audience.
Great point. Yeah, Bryan, who's your Best Supporting?
I'm in lockstep with that. I mean, he won Best Supporting. he's one of the Oscars that walked out of here with this. So got to go with it. Kennedy is absolutely essential in this.
Speaking of like the word endearing, is that just the way that he looks at Luke is, I think, special. There are words that you wouldn't use in public. You wouldn't even use them with like your closest friends. Like, I'm just gonna sit next to my boy Luke.
My boy.
I'm gonna sit next to my darling Luke. Oh, look at you, that smile. Now look at my baby Luke. Like that, you wouldn't do that, but he does, and it's a very particular thing, and it makes you love him. I didn't choose him for my Best Supporting because I made it my MVP. My Best Supporting is Luke Askew as Boss Honeycutt. He's the young boss with the hat,
right?
Who is the most talkative, and he is the one most frequently on the road. And he's also the one that says, "That's Boss Keene's ditch." What you're doing?
He's a great character. It's subtle, but it's strong.
Yeah. Who or what is your hidden gem, Luke?
I really wanted to just say like dirt in general is my hidden gem, but that's not very hidden. So I'm gonna pick out one of the two female actresses, the only one that has lines in this movie. Again, it's a dudes movie. Jo Van Fleet Arletta, or Jo Van Fleet, who plays Arletta,
yes.
Newman's Cool Hand Luke's mom. She's a very interesting character. I think what's great about well written about this character is she's cool. She's kind of aloof. I mean, she's sitting in the back of the trunk. She's shooting straight with Luke. She's smoking a cigarette, but she's kind of cool herself. Like she has this same attitude to life. She even says like, "I like you better than my other son." She's straight shooter, and you can tell she made a lot of mistakes in her life. Like you get that. I think the acting is fantastic. You don't need to know a lot, but you can tell she's lived a hard life. And there's reasons why Luke's in jail. And they mention his dad, but that interaction is one of my favorite parts of the movie. And I think she brings a lot as an actress and really adds to that glimpse of the backstory of who Luke is. You get a glimpse when he meets his mom, and it's because of that portrayal.
A glimpse is all you need. It upholds a little bit of the mystery, which is also cool. Bryan, what's your hidden gem about this movie?
I went with Dennis Hopper on this because I didn't realize it was him until I checked out the IMDb page.
Yeah.
And I was like, who is Dennis Hopper in this? And I literally had to type in Dennis Hopper, Cool Hand Luke, Google Images. Google Images. I was like, okay, that is Dennis Hopper. All right.
Crazy.
and just purely from the standpoint that, usually you can pick somebody out of a lineup no matter how old they are, especially well-known actors and actresses. And I was like, man, I got nothing on them.
They had definitely had fun on this set. Yeah. I think there was some things happening on that. I think there was some beverages consumed, some cigarettes smoked, and some other things happening on this set.
My hidden gem is Harry Dean Stanton, particularly his singing and guitar playing. Is that there's a scene where they're jogging around. This is in preparation for the egg contest, which takes 5 minutes in this movie goes a long way. That takes a while to get through, but it's kind of fun. But while they're doing like the training, running in a circle, he's playing guitar. You got one guy dancing his heart out. So I love. Like, who's going to judge you? You're stuck here like me. I'm a dance. He's just dancing. We got a couple guys jumping rope. Like, it's just like, all right, well, whatever. They're playing catch out there. I thought that was a nice background enhancer to every scene that's in. Luke, if you have to recast somebody in this movie, who would it be and with whom?
Man, I don't think you could recast anybody. I think all these characters are great. I think the group is great. So I'm going to say maybe you throw in another brooding character actor of the era. I mean, you could throw in maybe someone like James Coburn or Charles Bronson. Just if you wanted to, of that era, just throw another one in there just for fun.
I could have sworn Charles Bronson was in this movie. Like, it could have been.
He was in a lot of like Kennedy movies, and like you look at a lot of the World War II movies that came out around that time.
Great Escape and stuff. So it's
there's a bunch of usual suspects in these things.
Yeah. What's your recast choice, Bryan?
I think they needed. They had a lot of the same character in the jailhouse. So I feel like, give me somebody European.
Right.
Give me Richard Pryor. Give me a source of not cookie cutter prison guy. Like someone who's another character that this guy's got to really, he has to work his way through. That's it. Yeah. I Whisper in Escape from Alcatraz was absolutely essential. Just given that other menace, maybe somebody menacing, like everything is very,
maybe the guy named Tattoo, who's got a sick tattoo on his chest, does something.
Right. Yeah. So I feel like that really needed to have a thing in there, or give me the really old man.
Yeah.
Who somehow they're still putting out on the line. You know what I mean? Like give me that. Give me the old wisdom. What are you in here? They're like, oh, and there's all of these rumors. Like everybody has an idea of why this guy's in here, but they're all too young to actually know what he was in for. So it's just all lies and tall tales and whatever. Like I just felt like they needed. You had the Cool Hand Luke personality, you had the Kennedy personality, but again, no one else is really developed enough to be their own entity within this game. And I just feel like it needed more entities.
I got something.
So it's less a recast and more add.
I'm going to take this with you. I think I got you too. Is it maybe that old guy? He used to be the cool one.
Exactly.
Baby cool. He was cool 40 years ago. Now he's still here. Because
he was World War I cool.
He was cool back in 1931. And what did it get him? Still here. Interesting.
Like if you made the movie today, it would be Sam Elliott.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because you could still see Sam Elliott standing on a line, cutting the tall grass and whatever. And you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'll take
like
nowadays
Sandman.
Sam Elliott and just put him back into
yeah,
this movie.
plug him at his age currently into
Right into this movie.
Yeah. But yeah,
Woodward.
it needed that. It just needed it needed more personality within the chain gang.
Yeah, okay, I like that. I went with something pretty simple. There's a character named Coco. He's played by Lou Antonio. I think he has a chance to pop or to matter, and I don't know if the movie allows him to. But I thought it'd be kind of funny if it was Peter Falk instead. Like, it was just an idea. Like, I don't need him. I don't need Peter Falk there, but it could lead us a little bit too far into the yucks. But it could be a dramatic chance, So it was just an idea. We don't want to recast this movie. This movie's pretty good. Luke, what's your best shot of the movie?
I mentioned a bunch of them. I'm gonna go with, again, that shot of Luke returning from digging the ditch, and it's that tracking shot of all the bunks, and we see Luke walking as everyone watches him come back in this defeated state and come back into the barracks. And that's one of my favorite shots. It feels, again, modern, fresh, and cinematic.
Yeah. Bryan, what about you?
I'm going to go with the poker game, just because the period of time. So you got late 1960s on this. The period of time prior to World Series of Poker sunglasses is, I'm not even really going to look at you. Like, you don't get to find out my tell because you only get, it's not even a profile he's giving them.
Just gamesmanship at its earliest. My best shot comes pretty late, actually. It's part of the punishment is you got to clean your plate, otherwise you go back in the box. So they load him up. They load his plate up, and they see it. There hasn't been like a lot of like arms around the shoulder, like, you all right, buddy? Like, we were worried about you. Instead, the way they show that is they all come in with their spoon and they just take a little bit off of his plate.
Yeah.
And I thought that we talked about earlier, camaraderie is, things are bad for you, but it doesn't have to be that bad. And if they saw it, if any of the bosses saw it, they'd get in trouble. But instead, we're gonna do this subtle thing to show you how we care. I thought that was cool. Best scene, Luke.
There's so many great scenes that are fun, and I'm gonna go with a stereotypical one. It's that church monologue scene at the end of the film. I think that's we see all this tension and this underlying emotion of the character Luke in the portrayal, and then we get this monologue where Paul Newman is really letting loose, and we get to see his acting chops. And there's not many actors of this era that could have pulled that scene off. It probably would have felt pretty corny, and I think it takes this movie to the next level to have that scene. So that was my favorite, but there's so many good ones.
Bryan, best scene.
Hate to say it, but that's what I've got too. There's something really hopeful yet crushing about basically demanding answers from God when you're at a point where you're broken and you're basically just screaming to the heavens. And I do feel like that is the height of this movie isn't the last escape. It's basically him saying, give me a sign. Sign arrives in the form of the police and the warden to basically put him down.
Yeah. Whatever happened to lead to this point had to. And this is the resolution. This is it. Yeah. And I think I'll actually talk a little bit about that feeling when I get to my star rating. But for myself, the best scene, I don't know why, guys. And I wrote down in my notes, I don't know why. I also don't fully understand it. The scene about finishing the blacktop road way too fast.
Oh, yes, great scene.
Why is it great?
It's the team scene. I feel like that's when they turn. That's when really they become a team, and people understand. They understand Luke's mentality. He's like, we'll give them what they want.
And we're going to go at breakneck speed. And they're like, why are we racing? Like, I don't know. Let's go. And they go and they go and they go and they get it done. What are you going to do now? Nothing. And the last 2 hours of the day, I guess there's no more work to do. I come from a background where it's like, oh, good. You got all your work done. Here's tomorrow's work. And it's like, it didn't seem like it had a happy ending built in, but boy, it seemed like it. And I think there are other scenes that stand out, but that one, due to its unexplainable mirth I got from it, and maybe it is the teamwork thing. I get high off teamwork. That is like the teamwork they're showing is the opposite of being cool. Is they're trying really hard to get it done early, but what do they end up with is a nice easy afternoon off. I don't know, but it is my favorite scene. Best wardrobe or makeup moment for you, Luke?
I'm going to have to say, we've mentioned it before, the grime, the grit, that paired with the prison uniforms, it just feels so real and of the era. It feels there's uniformity, but they're all kind of different at different levels of wear and tear. And if you put all blue on Paul Newman with those blue eyes, I mean, it just pops. I wore all blue today to work in honor of this movie because I was like, I'm going to go for that. I mean, it was prison garb back then, but I was like, pretty fashionable.
You can tell that there are some of those hot days where, I don't know if you guys ever been working out in the sun where you're wearing long sleeves because you'd rather be warm from the long sleeves than to be in that
or the target of the sun.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Bryan, what's your best wardrobe or makeup moment?
I'm going to go with the cane.
Ooh.
Very specific prop. Again, I don't think this guy really did anything wrong. At no point in time prior to him shooting an unarmed man. But up until that point, he basically led by pure menace. And I think part of that was due to the sunglasses, and then part of it was due to this cane he seemingly doesn't need but carries around anyway.
Only because we already talked about his sunglasses, and we brought it up in the main body of the show that these sunglasses may be the progenitor of like a villainous menace wearing sunglasses. I mean, you brought up The Matrix earlier.
Yeah.
Like, talk about sunglasses being
the sunglasses is the character.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So because we brought it up already, I'll go ahead and say that my special LVP, my least valuable player, like my worst wardrobe moment is that safety pin. Boy, that safety pin about to pop, ain't it? So the least valuable player is the safety pin that does not pop. Audience, I think you know what I'm talking about. Okay, let's move on it was a weird category. If you have to change one thing about this movie, Luke, what are you changing?
Ironically, I think, Bryan, you mentioned this maybe last time I was recording the website, Does the Dog Die?
Oh, yeah.
And I had a feeling this was coming because I think there was not any PETA representatives on the site of this shoot. I felt like there was some actual animal abuse in the making of this movie. So if I would change one thing, it would be the dog stuff because I did fast forward because I was like, this is not looking good. As soon as those dogs were trying to get through the barbed wire, I was like,
yeah,
this feels like this was actually happening and they just caught it. So that was the one thing I would change. I understand the time and place, but I just can't watch that stuff.
I couldn't possibly agree with you more. My notes literally says, don't have to have a dog die ever in my notes. But I don't know if I say that more to stay on brand for my distaste for dog dying movies, or if it really needs to be the change one thing for this film. Obviously, I never like seeing a dog die. Maybe even having some clarity. Was it because they lost them off leash? Did Paul Newman kill the dog? Again, not that it really matters. I would like some more information, but not that it really matters. But yeah, it is to a point now where there are certain things in movies I just don't want to see. And I'm not saying that it would completely exclude a movie if one of you came to me and said, dude, like, a dog dies in this movie, you got to watch this movie. Like, I would never have complained that someone had me watch John Wick. But I will say that every time I watch John Wick, I start after the dog dies.
Sure.
So, it's definitely a thing.
Interestingly enough, I went the same way with this, is that I believe we need a small victory or victories over the state penitentiary workers, the COs. Like, we need victories over them. They aren't too oppressive for the general population. They're not going around knocking knuckles. Like, they're just doing their job. And I'm not a guy that normally says stuff like that, but the idea is they're portrayed like they're not being like bad guys. They're just reading the rules. But little wins, like if we had it written where one of the bosses was being a jerk and we got a little win over him, that would have added to the feel good that we get in this movie.
Yes. We
didn't get that with Dog Boy coming back with, he ran Blue to death. That it did not that does not satisfy you. That it actually takes away. Now it's really impactful the way that he holds him. Is really, really, really impactful, and it adds to the grit of this movie overall. But it's not really that enjoyable. And I'm gonna give a second one, which is the scene with the girl. Where she's washing the car, incredibly gratuitous.
Yeah, is that the first car wash?
That's a good question.
I know that this era there was all those beach movies that were happening. Yeah, so I know that this is that it took me out of it a little bit because I felt like I was watching a 60s beach movie, but this one was like, I was like, this feels like a raunchy 90s comedy or something.
Yeah, it was very ham-handed.
Fan service to the max. And the thing is, the purpose of it was to show how all these guys like react to it, but that could have been so much better placed 40 minutes in as opposed to 15 minutes in.
Yeah, of course, that was like when my wife walked in to be watching the movie. Dude. I was like, this is not what this movie.
Hey, man, you should have seen me trying to watch blue is the warmest color. And I'm like, honey, I just want to give you a heads up. Like, this is what I'm watching. Yeah, this is what I'm watching at any given time. If you walk in, you're going to see some stuff.
Now, let's move on to a fun one at the end, which is our best quote here. Luke, this is a movie that you've been called your whole life. So you can go with 2 quotes if you want. We can get an extra one in here if you'd like.
Well, there's one. I actually, speaking of like quotes that I have been called or like my name being referenced to stuff. What we've got here is a failure to communicate. I didn't realize it came from this movie. It's referenced in so many different ways, and I did not know it came from this movie. So that was really fun to learn, and it's great how it's used, obviously at the end of the movie and brought back. But I'm gonna go with sometimes nothing can be a real cool hand, and I love that line in the poker scene because it tells you again it's how the namesake happens, but it tells you everything you need to know about Luke.
Yeah. And it's a cool delivery, too. Bryan, what's your best quote?
Sorry, Luke. I'm just doing my job. You got to appreciate that. Nah, calling it your job don't make it right, boss.
Ooh.
Yeah, true. I chose a couple different... That one's so good, Bryan, by the way. Like that one's really good.
A great one.
Sometimes an early quote gets precedence over others because it helps to set the tone for a movie. Sometimes I'll choose a quote that isn't dramatically impactful. It just like kind of sums up a quirky scene. I've got 2 options for you here. One of them was in the first work bus scene where they're going out to work. One of the guys starts talking about how comfy his job is, that he's got a broom. Oh, I don't look forward for you guys in that ditch. Oh, it's going to be hard out there. I got a comfy job. And he swindles the new meat into buying his job. well, I made an arrangement with that man. Get in the ditch. Like he got tricked, right? So later on, because he was the new guy was back talking, he gets put in the box. Like double burn on this guy. And there's just so nonchalantly one of the other inmates says, only supposed to be a joke. Ain't no brooms. Just it kind of lets you know that everybody's in on it. There is camaraderie here, even if it is kind of getting over on somebody else. But also, strap in. This isn't.
There ain't no brooms.
Ain't no brooms.
I'm using that. I'm using that live. Like for a work meeting. Hey, there ain't no brooms in this work meeting.
Ain't no brooms. And then I have to. I offered you a second one because I brought a second one locked and loaded, which was nobody can eat 50 eggs. Which I thought.
Why 50? Why not 35 or 39? Just thought it was a nice round number.
What high drama in the middle of this movie. Hey, before we move on to our ratings and the recommendation for this movie, can you tell us a little bit more about your show, Luke?
Yeah, please subscribe and follow Least Important Things wherever you get your podcasts. And you can follow me on Letterboxd and Instagram at Luke H. Ferris. We also have a Patreon where you get exclusive content and more fun stuff. That's patreon.com/Least Important Things.
Sounds good. Now let's just shoot straight over to you. We rate our movies out of 5 stars. 0.5 intervals if you'd like. You can give half a star if you want, 5 being the highest, 0 being the lowest. How do you rate this movie, Luke?
This one's 4 out of 5 for me. I really enjoyed it. There's so much that you can take from this movie. I mean, we've just been talking about it as far as allegory, as far as humor. It just was really surprising how well balanced this movie was. Obviously, there's a half-star deduction for the dog stuff. And then I think a little bit, there's some, we talked about it, but what really happened when he escaped, what the photo, all of that stuff, like we could have used a little bit more explanation there. But that I kind of throw that up to the era of the movie, but solid 4 out of 5 for me.
All right, solid 4 out of 5. Bryan, how are you ranking this movie?
I also gave this a 4 out of 5. I think that this would probably be in the category of movies that I would just toss on sometimes just to have on while I'm doing something. And really, no matter what point in time I focus in on it, I'm pretty much enjoying myself. I'm definitely glad I got to revisit it for the podcast specifically, because sometimes when I have good intentions about getting back to a movie that I have, good feelings or even mercurial feelings about in the past, and I don't really watch it as critically as I'd like to.
Yeah, well, that way we say thank you, Luke, for bringing it to the show, because that means we got to touch on it with our critical eyes.
I also, real quick, I also, just as part of that 4 stars, I want to just give a shout out, kudos to Paul Newman. To develop this character, he actually traveled to West Virginia where he recorded local accents and surveyed people's behaviors in preparation for this part. And being from West Virginia, thanks for that.
I'm going to rate this movie 5 stars. I'm with the 100%ers. This is good stuff. Give it to me straight. Now, here's the thing. I'm biased. I've been locked up before. I like the idea that we can treat our people with a little bit of a record as if they aren't the bottom of the barrel. None of us, while watching this movie, think, you're a bunch of bad guys, did we? No, we didn't. We are interested in these guys. We're interested in their forms of success. I don't need a phony baloney miracle where he gets away riding away on a horse. I hated The Great Escape. I just want to throw that in there. We talked Bryan because it landed pretty low on our year-end rankings. I don't need the miracle. I like the idea that it gives you the grit, it gives you the real, but it's not staying in the emotional mud all movie where things are tough. We get like this sort of come around arc and culminates. I watched it twice in 36 hours. I will watch it again. I will recommend it. I think there are things I found about it. Russell knows this. I'm not a guy who gives movie extra credit for being like the historically important. If it finds itself on some important list, I don't care. But this one did it for me. And it's a 5 out of 5. So thanks for serving it up to us. Bryan, I'm going to need help choosing our movie for next week. Can you help me?
Let's go. Oscar season continues next week with these 3 award-nominated movies. Option 1, The Country Girl, 1954. A director hires an alcoholic has-been and strikes up a stormy relationship with the actor's wife, who he believes is the cause of all the man's problems. Option 2, The Razor's Edge. An adventuresome young man goes off to find himself and loses his socialite fiancée in the process. But when he returns 10 years later, she will stop at nothing to get him back, even though she is already married. Option 3, The Magnificent Ambersons. The spoiled young heir to a decaying Amberson fortune comes between his widowed mother and the man she has always loved. Dustin.
I have learned that some of the other hosts on the show get a little squeamish, get a little queasy when it comes to cheating and marriage drama. And, there's an issue.
None of these are going to win for Chad.
Well, I didn't say his name. But let's go with The Razor's Edge from 1946. Good list, man.
Right on.
Okay. Luke, thanks again for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks
bring
again,
me back for Con Air. Yeah, bring me back for Con Air. We'll get another Prison Break movie or prison movie with Con Air.
All prison all the time.
All prison. That movie rules. Bryan, of course.
Give the prison guy a call.
Put the bunny back in the box. Thank you, all the lords, ladies, and knights of the Retro Movie Roundtable. We invite you to reach out to us. We want to hear from you. Subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Pandora, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give us a like on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at movie_retro. Email us at retromovieroundtable@yahoo.com. Hey, producing and providing this podcast is fun, but not free. We invite you to support the show at our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/retromovieroundtable. Any contribution is much appreciated and will go towards making the show better for you, the listeners. As always, thank you for listening. Be good to each other and watch more movies. Bryan?
Sometimes I think that's all this place is. One long count. The prisoners count the hours. The bulls count the prisoners. And the king bull counts the count.